Despite an amazing performance from Matt Stafford, the Rams' defensive backs and running back Kyren Williams managed to lose them a very winnable game, and now they're in trouble if they want to win the division. Yeah, that was a really tough loss for the Rams in overtime against the 49ers, mainly because it was a couple of players and a couple of units that we normally don't see that from the Rams, normally where they excel, and then one unit where we definitely, they have some issues. But first, let's talk about the ones that normally excel. Kyren Williams, just rough. Down 3, 1 minute left, you're at the 1 yard line, and he does a Brandon Allen. He fumbles the ball on the 1 yard line, and they would have taken the lead, and you'd have to think up 4 with the pass rush they had, despite the fact that Mac Jones has been great, scoring a touchdown in that situation, 1 timeout, 1 minute left, and the pass rush of Jared Verse and Byron Young, who, by the way, were both phenomenal again tonight. But with them screaming without having to worry too much about those screens and underneath passes, I can't see them losing the game in that situation. So for Kyren Williams, that honestly just continued what was a tough night for him. He dropped the pass on 3rd down as well. That would have been a huge first down that led up to a missed field goal. And for the whole running back core as a whole, Blake Corum, he fumbled the ball in a simple pitch back to Matt Stafford. Unless they call it a turnover for Stafford, I'm not counting that. So if you see 0 turnovers, that's why. He just dropped the ball, pitched it right to him. I watched it. It's not a fumble on Stafford. So for that to be the case, for the running back core, which they considered a two-headed monster, to go out there and kind of just lose the game like that, definitely tough and not really what you want to see for the Rams. And speaking of kicker and that field goal missed, Josh Carty, he had a rough day. He missed the field goal early in the game. Then he missed an extra point that would have put them up 1 late in the game. And that extra point ended up being obviously huge because he makes that extra point. Now you're in the situation where even if they do go down and kick that field goal, you can come back and kick the field goal would win the game instead of tying it to go into overtime. Now, he did make the kick to get it to overtime, which was huge, but even right off overtime, and we saw this happening today, his little dirt kick, as they call it, not quite as effective. The 49ers kind of saw it coming, and they were getting it back to the 30, and then right in overtime, I think he was in his head a little bit just trying to get it to the ground because they were getting such good returns that he actually kicked it short of where it needed to go in the landing zone, and the 49ers ended up with the ball at the 40-yard line. Shout out NFL making that kick matter so much and have so many different intricate details to it, because it used to be kick it off, touchback, start at the 25 or the 20 in the olden days. Boring, but now tons of variables to it, and that was one because the 49ers went down and they ended up getting the field goal, which obviously helped them win the game. But the unit that's really a problem, and it sucks. Let's talk about Stafford. He was just amazing. He had one play where he spun. He's in the pocket. Now the 49ers pass rush struggles, so keep that in mind. But he's in the pocket. He spins out of the pocket to go to the left, and then he just whips a deep pass to Tutu. It was in overtime, and what would have been the game-winning drive, they were able to complete it. Him and Puka were just on fire, and then when they started slowing down Puka, because Puka's slow game for him, I guess, 10 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. When we started slowing him down, they started going to Devontae Adams and Tutu Atwell, so really impressive stuff. To me, by the way, Sean McVay, on that 4th and 1, there's no way I'm running the ball at Kyren Williams right there, right the teeth of the defense with one shot to win the game, especially considering what Matt Stafford had done the entire game. I thought that was kind of a rare, kind of lazy call from McVay. Just expected Kyren to get a yard there, and that's a tough ask. The 49ers defense, they're not slouches in the run game. They're injured, but they're not slouches, specifically in the run game. So, as they saw earlier when they punched the ball out. So yeah, definitely not great for McVay. However, the biggest problem for this team right now for the Rams has got to be that defensive backfield. They're injured. There's no Athilo Witherspoon. He's been out for a while. And we are seeing the backups get absolutely cooked. Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, they couldn't guard anything. Kendrick Bourne went off for 140 on him. Now, McCaffrey getting 82, that's kind of expected, but Bourne cannot do that to your secondary if you want to be a true Super Bowl contender. And for the Rams, that's definitely what they consider themselves. That's why they keep flirting back and forth with keeping Matt Stafford or trading him before the year, but you end up keeping him, giving him the contract he wants because you're trying to win Super Bowls. And you have the defensive line, to be completely honest, to compete. And the receivers and the weapons. I know Kyren had a tough game, but he's a top, I giving you a number off the top of my head, top 10 at the least running back. Normally top 5. I'm trying to think Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, just so far this season. Bijan, Taylor, I'd put Kyren right up. Cook is up there too, but I put Kyren right up there, probably like 4 or 5, maybe like 6, 7 if you want to consider Saquon and Derek, who haven't quite gotten it going. But the top 25%, whatever, Kyren Williams. Then you have the weapons. Puka looks like the best receiver in the league right now, and Devontae looks like one of the best number 2s so far. Stafford's been playing at an incredible level, and the D-line is getting pressure, but this secondary, they can't stop anything. We saw that the Eagles had their best passing day on them. Daniel Jones, now they got some interceptions last week, and that was huge, but they also could have let up a ton of yards and a crazy touchdown to Adonai Mitchell. He just lost the ball in the end zone, but they were kind of getting cooked a little bit there. I think this passing defense, that's a huge concern, and without Witherspoon, they got to do something to fix it. They're trying to put Emmanuel Forbes out there, the old Commanders cornerback. Yikes. It's a rough unit, and that's really what cost him the game. Despite the fact that Stafford almost had 400 yards passing the ball, when Mac Jones gets you 333, I mean, then that his impressive play is then limited from that. So for the Rams, they got to look at some way to kind of fix that, whether it's getting someone off the street at this point, whether it's making a trade because teams are exposing them, and that's cost them, you could definitely say, 2 games this season to the Eagles and 49ers. Now the Eagles came from behind to do it, but for losing that game to the 49ers, short week to Mac Jones. Now I think Mac Jones is very good and really, really good in that system, but 330 yards with no turnovers is a lot. I just got to admit, and that doesn't happen to a really, really good defense. Right now, the Rams kind of failing to reach that mark. And I think if anything holds them back from winning this division, and right now they're now down, you could essentially say 2 games. They're down 1 game in the loss column, and now they lost to the Niners, who at the moment are leading the division. But if anything's going to hold them back, it's definitely going to be those defensive backs, as we've already seen this season. So we'll see. We'll see with Sean McVay and the Rams brass. Now they got a little time to lick their wounds, come back. But we will see what they do with that in the upcoming weeks. And real quick before I leave, let me look up the schedule. We always like to tease the schedule. I just forgot to look it up this time. So once as I do this, though, I mean, for Kyren Williams, though, that game has to just be a kick in the ass, man. I mean, that was tough. Like the game was won. I was actually wondering why they were trying to score so early, even though they did get him to call a timeout. But he was just a little too hyped. So next up for the Rams, you got the Ravens. Gosh, with possibly no Lamar, Ravens. That's a feel-good game. However, it is at 1 o'clock, so they're traveling west to east. But you get a week and a half off. You better wake up at 9 all week to get ready for that. Then you get the Jags morning game. Is that a London game? Rams, Jags in London. That'd be lit. Then you get a bye week, and then you get the Saints. So I'm going to be honest, man. You go to London, you beat the Ravens, you go to London, and you get a bye week, and then the Saints. The Saints, ironically, are a team you don't want to play off a bye. Too easy of a game right now. You'd want to play a harder team and get a week off for that. But yeah, for the Rams, They're not obviously not a bad team. I still think they're a playoff team for sure, but they got to fix that defensive backfield. And this division is going to make it a lot harder than it should be to make the playoffs. They're 3-2 and they're in third place, and they could be tied for fourth if the Cardinals go out and beat, I forget who the fuck some bad team, the Titans. So it could be a big swing week for the Rams. Those couple of mistakes and what it ends up costing them in the short term. I think long term they'll be fine, but long term that defensive backfield has got to get fixed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do weekly videos for each team. So we have playlists directed to your team and the week in the description. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment in that section. I'd love to talk to you guys about what you think about the videos, what could be improved, what I did right. Thank you again. Lumia Sports. Peace.